Hello, hi, and welcome again to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. I am your host. We are broadcasting high above Civic Center Station in downtown Atlanta. And while it all may sound well and look well, just know that the Ratius invasion is coming. You may not sense the third legion, but their banners are always floating towards another conquest. And just know I understand it's been a fortnight since we last were able to report out. Nothing broke down any type of lines of communication at all. But we had been focused on the finish line. It was a finish line previously before and established, and now is within sight. It is hours away. I am booked and ready to leave to fly to New York City. Well, Newark, really. Newark, and to what was, uh, I am speechless just because as a parent, this is something that when your child is in school, I I don't know. It was me, it was in my head, and it kind of got it starts like middle school, kind of. You start going sixth, seventh grade, you're looking at your child and you're saying, you are going to graduate high school. And I guess this is so that countdown in that sense begins there. It's, it might be a slow back of the burn kind of thing, but I was looking at it as you're going to graduate high school, you're going to college, you're leaving this abode. You are going to go forward. And I may have said it here and I'll say it again. It amazes me that uh, maybe it's a 20th century thing. And now that we're in the 21st century, it's a different mindset. I always viewed the role of a parent is to raise the child to be able to be independent and to go off on their own. College is the easy step in the sense of you are leaving your home, but you're going to a controlled environment. You're going to another home. If you play the cards correctly, you're going someplace where you're not enduring that much financial burden to go to this new home through scholarships, through grants. For anybody in the state of Georgia that doesn't take advantage of the many financial opportunities to get a post-secondary education, it just you unfortunately I have to say you just didn't try hard enough. But you can do it from home as well. But the point is to get yourself up and out. Get up, get out. I could use that as a transition, but I'll come back to it. Yeah, I'm going to New York. My youngest is off to college. She is leaving on a midnight train away from Georgia, not a midnight train, but a plane. She's going to New York to go to school. I'm taking her up there and dropping her off and saying goodbye. And she, in her infinite wisdom and glory, has purchased tickets for Sunday at Citi Field to go for me and her to see the Metropolitans. And I've said to others, if there was ever a point for me to come, emotionally, I guess, to cry, as some people seem to cry as their kids are going off. They've got the stereotypical, I'm sure I could find a iStock video of some parent waving goodbye and crying as their kid goes off to college. If anything, it'd be me crying at Citi Field, like watching the Met win or something like that. I've been to Citi Field. If you've seen the titles of podcasts and images that go with it, I've had pictures from Citi Field, but those are from outside of Citi Field. I've never been inside Citi Field. I've never seen a game at Citi Field. I've seen games at Shea because I'm a 20th century person, and Shea was opened and closed in cities. Since I've not been back to the big city, I've not seen Citi Field. Therefore, this will be my first time. And it comes to my realization that I focus is the wrong word. I kind of lean towards the Mets because as an adult, as anybody, what are you doing to fill the time when you're not in school or at work? If you've got a family and kids, then obviously that time goes towards that. But for me and those many other single entities out there, how are you filling that empty time and space? Um, there's a lot of us. There's millions of us. There, people, national national media, especially national sports media, which is taking place because it's the one place where you know you're getting facts and the truth because you can't hide a 3-2 score. You can't tell me a 3-2 score isn't a 3-2 score. So that's the only place where you're getting true national news, and national news will tell you that baseball is down, it's going down. No one's watching baseball, and everybody's watching football, which is true. Everybody is watching football. Everybody would rather watch preseason football, games that don't matter in the sense that they don't count, but they matter to the second and third string players that are trying to get a job who are on the field playing. For them, it matters. And that is what dominates national sports news right now. Baseball news is kicked to the back burner only because it is still August. So we got another week before the true September rush begins. And I guess then the playoff push and preview and such like that begins. So yeah, you can start talking about the playoffs. Playoffs, yes, you can start talking about the playoffs in September with a Mets team that be that a Mets team that talking playoffs became a laughing joke easily 6 weeks ago, if not longer. It's just been what I do to fill the time. It's too hot to go outside and to walk and to see the city and stuff like that. I'm not someone who walks around in 90, 95-degree heat. When it cools down, sure, maybe then I'll get out and walk around if that's still allowed by the Ratius people. But that's neither here nor there. I am watching the Mets, and any Mets fan at this point knows you're just watching to see who's going to be around with this team next year. And unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of the same people that are there now. Like the outfield's not changing. It's going to be AJ Ewing in center field. It's going to be Carson Benge, who I'll come back to in right, and Juan Soto in left. It's going to be Francisco Lindor at shortstop. Bo Bichette's going to take this contract because he's going to get $40 million. Stop. He's coming back. Bo Bichette's going to be at third base. Second and first base, that's where we need to talk. And that's where the things are coming from. Catching position, Francisco Alvarez, Luis Torrens, that's not changing. That's the catching position. This pitchers, and this is the thing that I'm watching now for. I'm watching the next three pitchers in the Generation K. This is the long line. This is the thing I don't know if people recognize. The Mets, as a baseball franchise, are founded on pitching. Full stop. It started with Tom Seaver and Jerry Kuzman and Nolan Ryan from the 69 Miracle Mets. And then you get the 73, you get John Matlack and other, I'm not, I want to say, is it Swim? I'm trying to think of pitchers from the 70s, that were the Mets, but they were still a pitching franchise because Seaver's there for the first little bit, and then Matlack comes in. But they weren't any good in the 70s. In the 80s, the 80s is Ron Darling. It's Dwight Gooden. It's Frank Viola with the 88 team. It's Sid Fernandez who came up through the system. And as you come a little further along, it's David Cohn who comes up. You get Brett Saberhagen for a heartbeat in the second back in the 90s. Now, mind you, I'm going through just the names of the Mets, of the pitchers, of their top pitchers of that time. The team won in 86. They're good in 88. Most of the 90s, they're trash. But you still are going to get a good outing from Frankie V. You're still going to get a good outing from Brett Saberhagen. They still had pitching. There was always pitching. There's always been pitching. you get Al Leiter towards the end of that, and if I'm thinking hard enough, the Generation K of Pulsifer and Isringhausen, and it was that was going to be the next generation of kids, and that were going to be great arms, and everybody loves to forget about Rick Reed and John Maine. And my personal favorite of R.A. Dickey, who won a Cy Young throwing a knuckleball at 70 miles an hour. It's a 70, 75 mile per hour knuckleball. So it was already moving faster than most knuckleballs and then would go in any direction. It was a beautiful thing to watch. It was something worth watching every fifth day as a desperate Met fan who watches every game. It was something to watch. And this is what this team is providing now, because Nolan McLean isn't even talked about in the rookie of the year category, because honestly, he's probably going to get Cy Young votes. It's not going to be a lot, but he's going to get Cy Young votes. He's, I've said it multiple times. I did not think he was an ace to start the season. Everybody was looking at him. You look back on previews, everybody was already putting him as the number one starter on the team. I didn't think that. He's the number one starter. He is showing me that he can get through 6 innings and not give up 3 runs without his good stuff. And I mean, like, his four seam is not being thrown for a fastball. He doesn't have good command on his slider and stuff like that. And yet he's still finding a way. Zach Thornton yesterday against the best team in baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers, with 80 wins, went 6 innings. Didn't really give up anything. And he didn't know about this guy a year ago. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's leaving out Christian Scott, who's coming back from Tommy John surgery and is pitching well and still learning because he just came back from Tommy John surgery. So next year, this is what I'm watching. This is why I watch the Mets on a daily basis, because I've got nothing else. And I do realize, and it's cemented in here now, that as I get older, I'm moving farther and farther away from the allure of football. Um, I just, it's just so much nothingness. It's like war. There's a lot of wait, 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 wait for this little bit of action, and then you're going to go back to sitting around and waiting again. Like the ships that are just sailing across the shores with soldiers that are going to try to invade this little island. But that's neither here nor there. Carson Benge is not going to get Rookie of the Year. He's having an amazing season, and any Mets fan will do, no. Sal Stewart of the Cincinnati Reds is going to hit for 30 home runs and lead the league in RBIs, and played a decent enough first base that it's his. I mean, like, even if he gets injured now, he's still at like 29 with like 95 RBIs. He's had an absolutely amazing season from start to finish. Carson Benge is going to finish with good stats. Like right now, in case you were wondering, which you weren't, he's hitting 282 with 16 home runs and 19 stolen bases. That averages out to, he's probably going to go for 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases. He might not be up at 280. He's not going to stay that hot, but if he hits 270, 275, he's still top 20. This was the thing I was confused about. Confused isn't the right word. I didn't realize that he currently is 13th in the National League in hits with 134. Currently, his 282 is 15th in the National League, not rookies, the entire National League in average at 282, which people don't seem to care about. The stolen bases people care about. He's 19th. He's got 19. He's 18th, but it's still going to be 20 stolen bases. He's having a great year. So that is something that will be talked about, see transition, when I do the 5-month podcast review with Josh Safferty, our stadium chaser. That is coming up after I come back in September. So early September is when everything comes back around. So that's one of the things. We're also going to be wrapping up, and by we, I mean me and the listener, so the listener being you. We're going to be wrapping up the RDAT, the Rap Debut Album Tournament. It is looking at all of the, quote, great hip-hop albums from the start of hip-hop, essentially, because I went back to there, till about 2015, roughly speaking. And the catch of it is this album is the first time You Put Down were released to the world. Yeah, like Pet Sounds is an amazing album by the Beach Boys, but that's not their first album. The White Album is an amazing album by the Beatles. That's not their first. I love The Who. Tommy is an amazing album. They did stuff prior to that where they had came out and everybody knew who the Who was. So when I'm saying a rap debut album tournament, the first time anybody truly was able to hear a full album by Nas is Illmatic, and Illmatic's one of the greatest albums of all time, period. Full stop. Not rap, just period. The other three albums in this final four, and I'm already putting Nas past 50 Cent, which, by the way, Get Rich or Die Trying is an amazing album. It's an amazing rap album. That's an amazing rap album. Um, the Wu Tang, Enter the Wu Tang, is an amazing album. Ready to Die by Notorious B.I.G. is an amazing hip hop album. That's my biases on it. If my expectations of the way this tournament's going to break down, it's going to be the one versus two. It's going to be Illmatic versus Enter the Woo, and that will be a conversation because those are the first two out. That's the first thing. The first time anybody heard of the Woo as a group was that album, and it's to think about it, to think back on it and to look back on it, it's insane. Um, so there's about one, two, three, four, maybe five more podcasts to wrap up the RDAT. And I just kind of brushed on the final four. Uh, Speaking of, well, these aren't the final words, these are the earliest words. Um, just wanted to take a quick break and recite some of these things. Now, it's an interesting thing when you speak about history because we talk about the history and the lore of the Greeks and the Romans of their gods and their myths and everything like that. But I'm pretty certain that when, Joe Greek was up and walking around Athens, he didn't think of them as a myth. It's we think about it the myth with the luxury of years and years of history and future, but back then, you know, he didn't think about it that way. Probably thought about it something different. Probably also had some ideas about the Egyptian gods, but we don't talk about them because those have kind of been washed and forgotten. The same way some myths have been forgotten, even if they're over 15,000 years old. Now, this is long before new canons arrived below the lands surrounding this ivory tower. And if you're watching on YouTube, we were born from the water, spawned from swirling froth and tumult, crawling scared into unforgiving wilderness. Our bodies are suffused with the water, upright frames of flesh suppressing the internal tempest awash with instinct. Life is sustained by the water, flowing through epochs, nurturing the convergence of life across the reach. And when the suns fall and the expanse is cradled in darkness, so shall we all return to the water. Water surrounds us from all sides eventually, whether it's a lake or a river or, the Atlantic Ocean. I'll soon be leaving this tower for Thistlebeard's Tavern way. Well, I'll save that for another day. I will end this podcast with a trivia question. I'm headed to New York, as I've said, and in New York is Washington Square Park. It's got an interesting history, to say the least. You go back, it's from half-freed slaves farming the land in the 1640s, with the Dutch East India Company overseeing, to the city of New York, turning it into public burial grounds in the 1790s. For a good quarter century there into the early 1800s. It was renovated and other things between then and the 20th century by Robert Moses. And then again, Washington Square Park was renovated about 20 years ago through the arguments. The remnants of that renovation are still visible today. It now serves as the center stone mark for New York University, NYU, with its main campus and buildings essentially surrounding the park on all sides. According to Wikipedia, how many people registered for a Barack Obama presidential rally at Washington Square Park in 2007? That's the number I'm looking for. Thank you for listening. However, whether on Spotify, Apple, or Pandora, you can watch each and every episode of this podcast at youtube.com/ at terminal pod. It's the channel for all your questions. The answer to today's trivia question is in the description. I'll be back soon enough with hopefully something better to put down. Take it easy on your life's highway and have a good evening.